99 hustles. 99 hustles.
Welcome to the 99 Hustles podcast. I'm your host, Nick Carter.
And I'm your co-host, International Fees.
And today we're joined by another exceptional hustler. We have Alex Fasulo today on the podcast. Alex, how are you doing today?
I'm good. Hi, guys. Hi, Nick. Hi, Fees. Thank you for having me on.
Absolutely. Thanks for being available. Alex has been freelancing on Fiverr for a number of years now. And at just 28 years old, she reportedly earns over $378,000 a year doing that with a variety of different clients on Fiverr. Alex is a self-made entrepreneur who's making a killing. But before we get into all the details there, Alex, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. So yeah, for the last 6 years, I've been freelancing full time. That was definitely not my aim. When I went to college, I went to school for political science. So I thought I was going to go be a staffer or chief of staff or write policy or something like that. I never really considered myself like an entrepreneur or a writer per se or anything like that. And I graduated college a year early. So when I was 21, I went to work in politics for a year, and I learned some things, but it definitely wasn't my calling, and I didn't feel like passionate about it. So, like every normal person, this isn't normal at all. I applied to 200 jobs in New York City to get accepted into one. It took 200. I feel like there's a lot of lessons in there, though. But yeah, I was in Albany at the time, so I moved to New York City. Everyone knows this. I lasted 4 weeks at the job, hated it so much, quit it, and basically out of necessity started freelancing. It was not like a passion project of mine. It was a red alert moment, and started freelancing full time end of 2015, early 2016, and the rest is history.
Nice.
Wow.
Nice.
So I guess just for the audience, when you say you went from Albany to New York City, I mean, though it's in the same state, the lifestyle is completely different, I'm assuming. Can you talk a little bit about like what that transition was like?
Yeah, I've actually never been asked that, and that's a great question. Yeah, I mean, Albany, it's a smaller city. I grew up in Albany, but outside of it, like on a farm. So I come from rural, like small town vibes. The college I went to was small town, and that was definitely what I knew the best. So yeah, going from Albany to New York City was shocking in a lot of ways. Living in a city was new to me. A lot of the lifestyle changes definitely were shocking. Like, I got a ticket in the subway because you know how you can open the emergency door and it's like next to the turnstiles, if you guys have been to New York.
Yeah.
And the door was wide open for people to exit out. I didn't realize it, so I just like wasn't paying attention. I was on my phone. I walked in through the door, so I essentially like missed swiping my card.
Yeah.
And a cop happened to be there, and I got a $100 ticket my first week in New York.
Welcome to New York City, right?
Yeah, it was great. But I mean, I was in New York for 6 years, so very quickly I became shrewd and sassy and all the things you have to be to live in New York.
Yeah. And so Alex, you mentioned that you were introduced to freelancing. In particular, for our audience, we're talking about Fiverr.com. There are numerous freelancing platforms. You have freelancer.com. Fiverr in particular is the one, Alex, that I believe you solely use, or do you use any other platforms also? Is it just Fiverr?
I use some other ones, but Fiverr's by far been like the biggest for me. Yeah.
Okay. And so at this time when you were thinking about freelancing or getting into freelancing, how were you introduced to the Fiverr platform?
So I actually had heard about Fiverr the year prior from my mom, who loves to like learn new things, and she always up on the trends. And I was complaining to her that I was bored at my job in Albany. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm just sitting here. And that's, probably when I should have known I was going to end up being an entrepreneur, because other people are very happy having nothing to do with their job, but I was not. And I was texting her and I'm like, I'm so bored. What should I do? And she was like, check this site out. My friend told me about it. I think you can make like $5 here and there on it. And I was like, sick. And I checked it out. I wasn't using it seriously though, like at all, when I had quit my job. So it's like, it was almost like starting anew on there that day I quit my job, because I went home and I was like, all right, maybe it's time to take this site seriously, because it's the only other thing in my life right now that's like made me $5.
Yeah.
So was that your first contract? Was it a $5 project?
Sure was. Yeah. I mean, Fiverr used to be based on $5 gigs. That was their whole thing. They have since like totally rebranded, and they're trying to get like so far away from that. So you can make a lot more money on there now, obviously. But back 6 years ago, it was basically $5 stuff.
Mhm.
But I thought it was great still. I'd earn like $50 a month. I was happy with it.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. And so, and prior to that, did you have any like entrepreneur, like any ambitions to be a hustler at all, or this was like your first time, like really, getting into the entrepreneur world?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it was both ways, kind of, where I had no plans of being a hustler, which is definitely probably what you could call me today.
Yeah.
But I always like say to my mom, like when I look back on my life and my childhood and everything, I think every sign was there from when, we had a garage sale and I was 13 and I just like told everyone to go inside, let me handle it. Or my favorite story I always tell people is I sold my RuneScape character that I used in middle school and I made like $400 online when I was 12, like selling a character. So it's like when I look back, I'm like, oh, okay, yeah.
I was built for this.
100%, and it just came to be. It was like divine. Like it's like it wasn't gonna hide anymore, and I was like, okay, yeah.
So I want to go back. You mentioned you applied to like 200 jobs and you only heard back or accepted to one.
Yeah.
Was there something in that gave you confidence to kind of go and quit your job and try to give this Fiverr thing like a full go?
I don't know. I mean, I don't think I was that mentally deep yet. I think I just quit that job because I had to, and I feel like if anything, I almost felt a self-esteem hit when it took 200 places for one to accept me. And this job that ended up accepting me had me go through a first round months prior and pick someone else. So they rejected me for the first time and then took me the second time. So I definitely, I mean, New York, definitely slaps you down on the pavement and tells you suck and you're no one, like very quickly. So I think I came face to face with that, and I had a choice. Do I move home to Albany because I just quit my job and I have a problem, or do I figure this out, New York style and suck it up?
Yeah, that definitely makes sense. I mean, that's what it's like coming to a big city, right? Is like everybody is like was the best from where they're from, and then they're all there together, and it's a reality check really really quick.
Oh yeah.
So you mentioned that the entrepreneur spirit was subtly there in your life. Now, couple that with like writing. Your freelance work that you do for clients is writing involved, right? Like you write articles, press releases, and things like that. Have you always enjoyed writing? Did you have a passion for writing, or were you just trying to make some money and figure it out?
Yeah, I definitely always liked writing, but I never told people that I was a writer. It's like I knew people growing up who were like, I'm a writer, I'm going to write books, I'm an author, I'm a journalist, get in line. That was their whole brand, and that was never my brand. I always gravitated towards liking English class and like history class more than science and everything. I guess, when I look back on it, when I was like 7 or 8, I did have a book that I wrote poems in. I was probably young to be writing poetry, so there was probably a sign there. But I went to college for political science, very writing heavy, so I always knew I was comfortable writing. Like writing never stressed me out, because I know a lot of people who are like, oh my god, I hate writing. Right. And I always didn't mind it, but I didn't feel like I was gonna die if I didn't become a professional writer.
Got it. So did you go after jobs that were politically involved, or were you just writing anything you could find?
I went for anything under the PR umbrella. I went for anything news, journalists, political, PR. I even was doing event planning, media companies, digital marketing companies. Like I was so willing to do anything it took to just keep going, because I had felt like I had hit my ceiling already where I was. And that was the scariest of all to me, is living a life where you don't keep doing this. I was like, I have to keep going here.
Yeah.
So at what point did it go from here's a couple, I'm making $50 a month to, I can actually talk about what I do for a living, because I'm making enough now that it's, I guess, in a sense, worth talking about? Like how did that process go?
Yeah, it was actually a couple years, because when I was scaling my Fiverr business in the first 2 years, I was quiet about it. When people would ask me what I was doing and I would explain it, nobody understood what I was talking about. Everyone would be like, okay, like, let's not even ask Alex because I don't even understand what he's doing. So they would just
She's figuring it out.
Yeah, like, I think I made the people uncomfortable a little bit because I think they thought that I was like blogging at my laptop.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think a lot of that comes from just like the idea how, society basically values your worth on like what your profession is, right?
Yeah.
And if you can't really explain, if you're not like, oh, I'm a lawyer or I'm a doctor or I'm an accountant, people look at you like, where did you go wrong? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
seriously.
So I totally get what, where you're coming from with that.
Yeah. And I mean, it was frustrating the first few years because I was, each subsequent month, my income on Fiverr did continue to increase, and it has ever since that first day I took it seriously. It's still, I mean, I have months where it will go up and down, but each year it keeps going up and up. And I remember by like the second year, I was getting where I wanted to start like talking about it to people, because I guess I was proud of like, I made this work and I'm making, 4 or 5K a month. This is amazing to me. Like, this is great. And I remember I would be frustrated that people would just think I'm like a starving artist or a poor writer girl, who thinks she's going to publish a novel. And I remember,
like, she moved to New York and now she's a writer.
Totally. And it's like, but then be careful what you wish for, because come 2018, that was the first big CNBC like printed my income right in the title of the article. And that came with its own craziness. So it's like, always be careful what you wish for.
We were going to ask about that. Yeah. We were going to ask about that. How was that? What was that experience? We did see the CNBC video. It has like half a million views. How did that change your life? Did you get like, all of a sudden like people needed stuff?
Was there like all of a sudden like an I Heart Alex like Facebook group?
Yeah.
Well, what was funny? So CNBC first wrote about me in 2018. So because the video came out like just 2 weeks ago. So that was like the second go around with them. But the very first time it came out in 2018, that was actually the most shocking, because at this point, most people have known that I'm like doing well with it. So I think when the video came out now, it's just more like, oh yeah, okay, we already know that like Alex is doing
the situation.
Like, great. Yeah. But the first time in 2018 is when it shocked, I think, everyone, because they were in their head comfortable thinking that, again, I'm just this poor writer girl in the corner. So when that came out and I think challenged everything that they had thought about me, when I say they, I mean like every person I knew and the internet and everything. That was shocking for me, and how people treated me with that. And I think it was necessary though, because I definitely came out I was naive going into that, thinking like, oh, all these people would be so happy for me that I'm doing well. And 90% of people hate hearing if you're doing well. So
really?
I'm interested to kind of like get into that a little bit more. So did you find that, was it jealousy, or was it more so people were just like and felt entitled to things like, oh, well, you're doing well now, so you should be able to like do this or that for me now?
Yeah, I really don't know. I feel like it's probably a weird combo of a bunch of things in people. And I'm also like, I said this in the CNBC video too, like I wake up, I am not someone who cares like, oh, I'm a woman, oh, he's a man, or oh, whatever. Like I just get up and I do business with like other people. They're humans to me. Like it doesn't matter what kind of human they are. And I just definitely, if you look at the hate I get, you have to go read through it. It's all guys. Men get so mad at this. Like they are so mad at me. And
like the idea of like, how is this like girl, like this woman making this kind of money?
I don't know.
Or whatever, just in general, just like making that kind of money somehow, makes
it's insane.
Goes to some insecurities about like, their lives.
It definitely, it has to be in like, I don't know. It makes them very angry, and I wish that wasn't the case, because I like want to like celebrate with everyone.
Well, like, it kind of goes back to what I like mentioned before about how like society like determines your worth based off like your profession and like what you do, and like for men in society, it's like you're supposed to be the one that makes money, and like if you don't make money, you're viewed as like a less than know male, and it's kind of like that insecurity bleeds into like looking at people that are doing well, and you're like, something's wrong. I should be doing well. Why is she doing well?
Yeah,
You know,
exactly.
And the crazy thing is like what's frustrating is like people don't have no idea how hard you work. They haven't worked that hard themselves. They haven't taken the risks.
100%.
And therefore they don't get the rewards, but they can sit around and have, critiques and comments about work for.
Yeah. 100%. No, it's like it's been great. It's been a lot of up and down, with all of it. It's definitely been dramatic, I feel like, in some ways, but at the same time, like, I don't know how to be any other way. Like, I don't know how to not work hard. So like, how do you work so hard? I'm like, I don't know. It's innate to me.
Yeah, that's dope.
Did it affect you in a way at all? Like at any point where it kind of had you like maybe second guessing what you were doing, or like did that point ever happen?
Yeah, I mean, I'd be lying if I'd say that doesn't happen to me once a month. Some days, the hate and just the way that I'm, some people will treat me. The dating situation's not great. I'm gonna be real. There's just some days when I'm like, I'll just pause and I'll be like, is this all worth it? Like, is this all worth it? Because I'm like, there's a lot of people who hate me right now. Is my safety in danger? Like, I've actually started to worry a little bit about that with some of the messages and the obsessions. Like, there was one guy who wrote like a 4,000 word article and did a 45-minute video on like saying that I'm lying and everything. Like, he's definitely obsessed. I think he's in Israel, thank God. But like, it's like all these things, and I'm like, is my personal safety worth this? Like, but then that's because I'm a human, right? And then 5 minutes later, I'll hear, I think it's God saying like, hold the line. You're doing what, you're here to do. And it's going to be tough at times, and it's going to be okay though. And that's like, I'm like, okay, yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
No, I mean, that speaks to like a level of resiliency, but it also speaks to the fact that, it's not all glitz and glamour, right? Like, being successful and being an entrepreneur, like these are great buzzwords, right? But there's a cost that comes along with a lot of these things that you don't necessarily think of. But so like, did you have people in your life that were able to be, like maybe support for, during this kind of like during these times where you're like going through this, like were you able to like lean on certain people to be like, to reassure like, what you're doing?
Absolutely. I mean, I'm so blessed in that like my nuclear family unit is incredible. Nice. My mom, my stepdad, my sister, like my cousin, like my aunt, we are one unit, and like one unit against the world. And I know that, not everyone has that. So it's like, I'm so thankful that I have that. And I have some close friends, that have stuck with me through all of it. Some have dropped, of course, but the ones who have stuck around are definitely like there for me until the end. And like, I would also be remiss if I didn't say like, there are thousands of people on social media every day who write the nicest stuff to me. I don't know them, but they write really awesome things. So it's like, I feel like sometimes as humans, we get caught up on the negative side, and it's like, but what about all the positive? And there's a ton of the positive. It's just the only thing with the negative and being like a 5'3" female is the safety thing, gets kind of like a little bit something to consider, but
yeah. And so like another experience of the CNBC video that was released is like, can you imagine? Like, you could have never predicted this would be your life, right? Like, you were a poli-sci major, and now CNBC is doing like a cover story on you and like following you around for videos. Like, how was it? Like surreal?
Yeah, every day is surreal. Like, I'm not even trying to be dramatic right now. Like, because the most recent CNBC thing like is picking up momentum. Like, people right now, I'm looking at my phone, are texting me. It's on their Apple News. Like, I'm just like, what the F? What the F? Like,
you can curse, it's okay.
Okay. I never know. Yeah, okay. I'm just like, what the fuck? Like, literally, like, I'm just like, I just don't some days I don't understand what is so interesting about my story. Like, I still don't get it. You'd think after all this time I would get it. I guess I get it in some ways, but every single day I'm in disbelief. Every day. Every day. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's a journey. I think your story is important because, I mean, every entrepreneur's story is important, right? Because like Fees was saying, how society kind of tries to fit people into like this cookie cutter mold. Somebody who like defies that and like builds a life, and it's like almost like more successful than the cookie cutter mold.
Well, like everyone likes the risk taker, right? Everyone likes like the rebel. like someone that goes against the grain. It's like, yo, you're taught, go to school, get a degree, go find a job that pays you, you know, the minimal amount you're willing to take, and just, you know, live that lifestyle for as long as you can. And most people do that just because like it's you know, generally more comfortable, it's safe.
Yeah.
You know, like there are perks to it, right? But for people that, you know, can't survive by sitting around and not doing anything, it's like living in hell. So it's like, you know, it's definitely you know, personality driven, and Alex definitely kind of embodies that with her story.
Sure.
So with that, like, what's next for you? Like, do you just continue seeing yourself like, you know, just upping the price now for your work, or is it more, or do you see your platform going somewhere else?
Yeah, I mean, like a classic entrepreneur, I get bored easily, right, with things, and I have to be doing 5,000 things all the time. So, you know, I'm right now working on building like my own writing business, actually without Fiverr, so I can kind of have it run on its own without me. Because right now with Fiverr, like I'm the one who has to log in and out of my profile, and it's been amazing and incredible, but it is limiting in some ways and scaling it. So I'm working on, you know, just kind of creating my own brand and my own, you know, my own writing business that other people will work on with me. But I mean, in the last year, honestly, like this whole brand that I've made is like much bigger than me at this point. I have like all these people that tell me every day, like, oh, you should open like a school where you teach this, or you should open like a blog where you blog about it. Like, so many people want me to take this brand in like so many educational directions, and I love it, and I love that that's like my next phase right now. So I feel like I want to get to a point this year where I can just like totally pour myself into like educator Alex for now. And then after in 6 years it'll change again, you know.
Yeah, that's what we see a lot, especially like with different guests we have on the podcast. Is they get successful at their thing.
Yeah.
And then once they get successful at their thing, they then share that information through courses and you know, YouTube videos and that whole gambit.
Exactly.
So when you first, Alex, I'm curious, like when you first, what was like your first big, like whether it be client or like when you first knew like, oh, this Fiverr thing is like for real, I'm making serious money on here? Was it like a particular client or a particular month that you really realized like, oh, this might be something?
It's up.
Honestly, like when I started taking it seriously at the start of 2016, it was, I think 2 months in. I think it was February. It was one night I was working until like 2 a.m. because I had so many orders. And I remember sitting there going like, wow, this is so funny, because if a regular job had forced me to work till 2 a.m. or if I ever had to stay up till 2 a.m. for a test in school, I'd be so pissed right now. And I'm not, because I'm so happy that I'm working for myself. And that was like an epiphany moment when I realized like, yeah, this is like, I literally could never go back to a job. But after 2 months on Fiverr, it was also covering my bills. So it was quick. You know, I always say to people, like, if you hustle, if you put in the work, if you follow all of this free information I have everywhere, like it can be quick that you can get some satisfaction out of this. You know, you can't make 6 figures at it in 2 months. And if someone does, please message me, so I'd love to write about you. If someone does, that's great. Yeah, like that's awesome. You know, you could teach me, but it was quick that I knew like, okay, this is it.
So educator Alex mode. Are there specific skill sets that people need, you know, for someone that, you know, hears your story and they're like, you know, I like writing, or maybe, you know, I you know, I feel like I'm creative, right? Are there certain skill sets that people need before trying to take this journey?
I would honestly say it's none of it is like, yes, okay, talent and skill set, that's all there. You're going to need to practice and get better at your craft, but anyone can do that. It's much more a mindset, mental journey and exercise and challenge that you have to be up for. Like, you have to be up for working really hard for not a lot of pay per hour in the beginning. And you can't sit there and be like, well, I'm worth more. Like, well, sure you are, but you have to, you know, earn that first. Like, I think people have to be up for the challenge. They have to be up for the risk. They have to be up for working really hard, working every day. That's a big part of freelancing. Like, you have to sign into your profile every single day, Sundays included, you don't have to work, but you do have to
True.
answer your clients. You can't just disappear on them for 48 hours or they'll like report you and stuff. So I think you have to be up for some sacrifice in the beginning. But what I always say to people is like, if you do it, if you sacrifice, you just keep your head down for 1 year, which in the scheme of life is nothing, then the other side is the best, you know? So it's more a mindset. Like, are you ready to be disciplined and make sacrifices and, you know, stop complaining and work for below your worth for a little bit. Yeah.
Sure. So speaking of, you know, building that worth, how did you go about, you know, building your profile? Was it, you know, were you marketing yourself or was it just like reviews and word of mouth?
So I actually never promoted myself on social media or anything. It was like all contained in Fiverr. And setting up my Fiverr profile and the services I offered, I literally just looked up the top people in each category and like mimicked what they were doing. I did not copy anything, but I would see like, oh, they worded it this way, I'll word it similarly, or like, oh, they're charging this, I'll charge that. And that's kind of was my like guide on how I did everything. Was I looked at what are the successful people doing. I'm going to do it too. And now I tell everyone that. They're like, oh, I don't know what to charge. I'm like, well, there's 5,000 people on Fiverr who you can go look at right now and like use the same pricing if you want.
That's a gem right there, right? It's like no matter what hustle you pick, go find people that are doing it well and
don't reinvent the wheel. Yeah, don't reinvent the wheel.
The blueprint's kind of there. You got to just go do the work to go look it up.
Yeah, exactly. It's like easy.
Alex, could you speak to a little bit to like the importance of like discipline and managing your schedule? Because like you don't have when people who don't have jobs, and especially like a freelancer, I imagine managing your schedule, like I'm going to work from like 9 a.m. in the morning until whatever time every day is probably important. Or do you kind of like just, when inspiration hits, I write, or do you have like some type of disciplined morning regiment, and daily work hours?
It's always hard to explain this. I feel like it's a combo of both of the things that you just said. For me, I'm definitely a morning person. And I always say to people, you should recognize about yourself when you are your most focused and build around that. So for me, it is the morning. So I will stack my more focused technical work in the morning and get all of that done, and then leave the easier, more creative stuff for the afternoon when I can feel my mind isn't as like ready to edit, an article about banking or something. My brain at like 2 p.m. can't do that, but it can at 9 a.m. So I'll just each day is different, but I'll put my more important, heavier workload, more technical stuff in the morning. And I'm also like definitely not a procrastinator, and you can't be, I feel like, with doing this, because there's timers on these orders, so that you can't just not get to it. So I'm a big fan of working in the morning too, because I like to try and get it all done, so it's not like looming or like hanging over my head for the rest of the day. So I guess it's hard to explain. It's like my own little system in my head, but it's kind of a combo of both things.
Okay. Yeah. And it's important to just figure out, I think what my takeaway from that was like, figure out your own habits, figure out your own habits. And it takes a level of self-awareness, like to really master that properly.
Yeah.
So you started off on the regular Fiverr program, and then Fiverr released Fiverr Pro. And then that's kind of really when you made a shift from, is that when you make the shift from 30,000 into, 6 figures? Could you speak a little bit more about that shift?
Yeah, so Fiverr Pro definitely is what like revved up my income massively. So in 2017, when Fiverr Pro launched, they didn't really like roll it out till 2018. So in 2017, I think I made like 65K that year. That's where I was like hovering around without Fiverr Pro, which is so insane to me still that you can make that much money and like not even be any special anything on Fiverr.
Yeah.
And then 2018 was when it just like exploded, because that was when Fiverr Pro kicked in. And so, like just to give people an idea of like how it was crazy, because I went from like 65K to like 270K the next year. That was 2018. That was when that CNBC article, 2018 was just like no one prepared me for 2018. Like, yeah, that was nuts. But that was due to Fiverr Pro, because Fiverr Pro just means you're the 1% and top 1% of the platform, and you are justified in charging way more because, you know, you're the top talent. So it's like Fiverr wants you to charge more
Interesting.
to show that you are that top talent. And yeah, that's what changed everything for me. And I have all people in my groups now, you know, every week people I know are getting accepted into Fiverr Pro. So it's not something that's like unattainable for people.
Yeah. How is it? I'd also like to talk a little bit more about the client, like working with clients. How is that like? Because every client and their needs are going to be different, right? So like, how is that like? Making sure that you're delivering to their expectations. I know there's some clients that you just can't satisfy, right? You know, you have those the basket.
You made that look like one client is in particular, like it sticks out. Like, can you talk about maybe you don't have to name drop, but just like that client where you're just like, this isn't going to work.
Well, I mean, that's right there. That's the hardest part of freelancing, is that the customer service expectations and understanding everyone's personalities and stuff. That's absolutely the most challenging and like taxing part of this. And what makes it probably challenging for someone to do for 15 plus years, because you're probably just going to hate people at that point. No, I was just rolling my eyes. I mean, at this point, I've completed 11,000 orders on Fiverr. Ooh. So, you know, about probably 500 of those people have been insufferable.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And, you know, part of getting, I think, better at freelancing is I've gotten much more unemotional when they write to me and say, hey, your writing sucks. Like 5 years ago, I used to be like, ow, F you. And now I just write back. I literally can recite it. I've written it so many times. I'm so sorry you feel that way. Is there anything I can do to rectify the situation in a revision? I'm just like sitting there just like rolling my eyes, and I'm like, okay, you know, 1,000 people have liked this product, but you have to be the one who hates it. Like, I just always want to know what they're like in real life, these people. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I feel like the best way I think I've learned to manage everyone's expectations is take time to create a very detailed questionnaire that they have to fill out for each order, because the more information you get from them, the harder it is for them to flip out at you in the end, because they, you know, you use their information. So that would be my like golden point.
Your golden rule. I feel like that's a important thing that, you know, people should start doing more often with all relationships and friendships and business, you know, just from the beginning, like let's go over like a set of, you know, expectations here of where you want this to go. So
absolutely. I mean, that would probably be me the next time I'm on a date. I'll be like, all right, let's get this out of the way.
You're like, don't ask me my favorite color. Don't ask me the nonsense. No. Like, fill out this survey here, and we'll see if this is a compatible thing.
For sure.
That could be if that's your next ebook. We want a nice credit on the end.
Oh, I would definitely give you guys credit for sure.
We appreciate that. So you said, you know, you've obviously, you know, done pretty much all you can really do on Fiverr at this point in terms of you know, succeeding on that platform. The next step here is you building out your own brand and your own platform. Is that what you foresee? Like, is that pretty much your next project here, and where you foresee the next year or so pretty much being up for you?
Yeah, I mean, I'm in the middle of it right now. I'm learning LinkedIn automation and email marketing. I know I'm new to email marketing. I'm actually working with a guy who's like an expert on both of those. So he's kind of helping me each day learn these things. Sure. So I'm in the middle of trying to just, pivot off of there. I also am in talks with a bunch of new freelancing platforms that are going to be coming out in the next few months. And I think people are always in shock to hear that, because they think I'm bought and paid for by Fiverr, but I have no partnership or affiliation with them, like whatsoever. So these new platforms that have approached me, I'm a business person, so I'm like, sure, let's hear what you got.
You heard it here first, ladies and gentlemen. Alex is a free agent. If you have an offer, send it her way.
Send it my way. I mean, I'm just like, at this point, I'm like, where's the affiliate link at? Let's do it. Like,
yeah. Word.
Let's hit it. Yeah.
Cut the check.
Exactly. You know, so it's like, I think I would love to say by the end of 2021 that I have it, my own writing everything that is operating on its own. That would be my goal.
Yeah. So, Alex, one thing I always wonder about writers in particular, writers on the internet, right? So you learn the skill of writing. Well, you know how to write, right? How about like SEO? Like, did you have to learn SEO for like, people who have blogs and people who have like copywriting for their websites? Was that a whole nother skill you had to learn to add
Yeah,
into?
that's a great question. I have a very elementary understanding of SEO, and I'm very transparent about that in all of my services. I mean, there's a whole department on Fiverr just for SEO. So if I have someone write to me and say, I expect H1, H2, this keyword, whatever, I just say to them, look, I can write a beautiful blog for you that is persuasive, that's research, that has links, everything you want in it. If you want that level of SEO, you can also go purchase the expert in SEO. I can't be everything. So that's kind of what I'll say to people. However, I have a basic understanding. So if they say, here's my focus keyword, here's my regular keyword, I've taught myself. They want that focus keyword in the title. They want it in the opening paragraph. You can't keyword stuff. You can't have a keyword just make no sense in a blog. I have a very elementary understanding of it that I'm happy to help them with. But if they're looking for me to solve their conversion rate on their website, that's not what I'm, then I'm going to, triple what I'm charging here.
Right, sure.
Yeah, you can do it, but it's going to cost you. So.
Exactly. And I'm just like, I don't know, my brain can only like do so much here. So I'm just like, go to the SEO person for that.
So at this point, Alex, you're what, 5 years removed from that job in New York that you quit in 4 weeks? 6 years removed.
Yeah, I'm 28 now. Yep, 6.
6 years removed.
Yeah.
You've done fairly well for yourself at this point. Would you say you're happy?
That's a great question. I can definitely say I'm like the happiest I've ever been right now. I'm even happier being an educator and helping people right now. When people message me that I'm helping them, there's no feeling like that in the world. So I'm in Florida now. I don't know anyone here. I do a lot of stuff by myself for the first time in my life, and I'm happy as shit. Yeah, it's all good.
It sounds like you figured this little thing called life out, Alex. So
I guess. Yes. I mean, in some ways, right? I haven't quite figured out the get married family part, but I'm working on it.
It's a work in progress. We're all trying to figure this out. But the biggest thing that I think, and like a big takeaway is just, what I took away from your story is just, when you have that moment where you're like, look, I can't do this anymore, right? That you can just have the conviction and the belief that you can go and do it. You can achieve it. Take the risk and make that change that will lead to a point where, like Alex said, you can be happy in 6 years.
Yeah.
Just
and
put the work in.
And drown out the noise, because there's going to be there's going to be noise on every step of the journey. You have to learn how to drown it out and accept it. It's par for the course. Focus on the positivity more than the negativity if you could.
Absolutely.
Alex, what would you say is like the biggest misconception for people who want to get into freelancing on Fiverr? Where do you see like a lot of times where people go wrong, or they thought it was this and it's not?
That's a good one. I think right now I would say it's when people get into their heads that it's too saturated for them. If I had $1 for every time someone has said that to me, it's become a very popular scapegoat, mindset thing that people use. Well, it's saturated. And I'm like, well, did you think did Nike or any of these companies go, oh, sneakers are saturated? That doesn't make any sense to me. I see that as, no, it's a very lively marketplace with a lot of money moving around it. Why would you let that stop you? So I think the biggest misconception is that it's too saturated, because I have people message me. I have the receipts. I have people man, if I also had $1 for every time someone asked me for receipts, oh my God. So, people message me every day and say, I made $2,500 last month and it was my first month on Fiverr. I had a woman message me, this blew my mind, tell me she made $3,500 in her first month by doing, I don't even know how to say it, tarot card reading.
Oh, wow.
Oh, interesting.
Most people are going to come for me right now because I didn't say it right.
Like Miss
I don't know how
Cleo.
you say it, yeah. But she
Coming
does
now
that
for your
stuff.
free tarot card reading.
Yeah, she does that stuff. And she made $3,500 her first month on Fiverr. So I say to people, "What's your excuse? Stop saying it's saturated, please."
You might have to pass her information over to us. We might have to create her an affiliate website for tarot card reading.
yeah, I'll go back. It was in January. I'll go dig it up if you want. I was cracking up. Yeah, I took a screenshot because it was great.
Got to keep the receipts.
Oh yeah.
You make an important point though there, Alex. One thing and that's one of my pet peeves is like when you tell somebody you have an idea or like you're about to start a business and someone says that already exists.
Yeah. Okay.
And I always say that it's like McDonald's and Burger King both exist, and there's other burger places. It's
there are no new ideas at this point.
Yeah.
No.
If anything, it means that the market is vibrant. Like there's money flowing into that market.
It's healthy. It's a healthy marketplace. Like, what's the matter with that? There's competition. It's great.
Yeah, it shouldn't discourage you. Shouldn't discourage you one bit. So, Alex, one question we always ask our guests that we have on our podcast is if you could, define one quote or phrase that defines your hustle or your business. We call it the hustler mantra. So if you could provide us with what you would describe as your hustle mantra, what would it be?
All right, so I have a few, but one of my main ones I always say to people, I'm not sure if this is already taken, it might be, but I always say yes, simple. And that's because over the last 6 years, beyond Fiverr, both myself and with my mom, I've tried probably 25 different businesses in 6 years. Because I just always say yes. And I sometimes think that's all this is. Just say yes to opportunities. Stop saying no.
Don't block your blessings. You heard it here first, ladies and gentlemen.
Don't. Why? Why do that? Because life will block plenty for you. Don't be the one who does it to yourself.
Whew. We might have to pass the collection plate, Nick.
Might need some t-shirt.
Well,
put that on a t-shirt. Yeah, we're gonna put that on our on Alex's platform under the 99 Hustle blog. So
hell yeah.
We'll get that going. Well, Alex, do you want to quickly, shout out your social handles or where people could find you and follow your story?
Sure. I always throw out my TikTok first because that's where I put my best educational stuff for people. So it's just Alex Fasulo Biz, the Z. I'm big. I post a lot on Instagram. That's more of my like day-to-day stuff. If you want to like just get a look at me, I guess, for whatever reason. That one's Alexandra Fasulo. Some guy in Italy is Alex Fasulo. I'm salty about it. And then my website, has links to all my stuff, my podcast and everything. So alexfasulo.com. So there you go.
Awesome. Well, that's a wrap for this week's episode. Thanks for listening to the 99 Hustle podcast. Please be sure to visit 99hustle.com to join the conversation, access the show notes, and discover our amazing bonus content. Please rate, review, and subscribe if you enjoyed this episode. And always remember, there are 99 hustles. All you got to do is choose one.
99 hustles.
I love
Thank
that.
you, Alex.